UHD quality video streaming, internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber. UHD quality video streaming, internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber.
නව ඩොමෙක්ස් වැල්ලම් සහ විසබීජ අවම කර දින 3ක් දක්වා ටොයිලට් එක ෆ්‍රෙෂ්ව තමයි ඩොමෙක්ස්.
Tonight, face the facts. Senior lecturer at the Kelaniya University reveals why reconciliation has failed in Sri Lanka.
Religious institutions, we very honestly we have to accept that we have failed.
Riding the wave. The SLTDA says that tourism investments have spiked with initial approval for $2.8 billion granted so far.
And we got all the line agents seated in one room and we went through the projects. And that is actually the reason that we are very proud to say that investments increased in 2020-21 over 2019 when there was no hope.
The good and the bad. While the Asian region is expected to grow to 7.6%, Sri Lanka is set to drop to 2.1% in 2022. Lining up to help, Sri Lanka gets another funding boost with a 900 million facility from its closest neighbour. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Thursday, the 13th of January 2022.
Introducing New Hellmann's, the world's #1 mayonnaise brand, now in Sri Lanka.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamma Kekanai. Now, ever since Sri Lanka gained independence, there have been various insurrections and instances of communal violence, and not to mention the 3-decade-long war with the LTTE. When elaborating on how there can be meaningful reconciliation in the island, Senior lecturer at the Kelaniya University, Venerable Galkande Dhammananda Thera, made the admission that all religious institutions in the country have failed and pointed to repeated incidents of bloodshed in the post-independence era. Speaking to Indiwari Amuatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, the Thera insisted that it is essential that people who are wounded within must be healed.
What do you mean by mindful programs? I understand when you say that there should be a genuine interest towards healing them, because it's not just the wounds of the LTT situation, the war, the civil conflict that we had, but also in recent times, the Easter Sunday attacks.
There is a saying, every story has to be told and there should be someone to listen to that story. If wounds are not healed, and then what happens, those wounded people start wounding others. That is the circle. 1956 onwards, how many times people are wounded, right? Have we truly understood that wounds have to be healed? It doesn't mean those wounded people come out of and out to the road and do something. It is not. If that person is a mother, she will wound children. She will be harsh and tough. Then the children are wounded. And if we take this Easter attack, and I see so many people are with wounds, their wounds have to be healed. No one has the right to just disregard it and go. For healing, they need to be told what happened, who did it, and justice.
How would you approach the situation of healing this nation entirely, Venerable Thera?
Education is very important. School is the place where you are given the necessary tools to work with in the world when you come out from the school and with the community. And if you are grown up with the same community, and then if it is Buddhist, all the Buddhist practices, taking 5 precepts at the very beginning, and then the Bana and all these things, and then if it is Islam, they will have, and at the end, what happens when you come to this community, you are not equipped enough to work with other communities. So, you will see your own people, there only you will feel comfortable. And this thing I see when you go abroad, go to the other countries, and Sri Lankan people, when they go there, if they are Sinhalese only, and Tamil people only. I think education, it is not just telling, but practical manner, take students to experience how other, and that kind of education is needed. And religious institutions, we very honestly we have to accept that we have failed, right? We have to accept that, because repeatedly bloodshed it is going on, and now this extremism, and I think we have to think very seriously how to communicate our religious messages without dividing people. And I feel unknowingly we are dividing people. If we can stop dividing people, and that itself will be helpful to people to live together.
I'd like to ask you whether there is anything we can do through a constitutional solution, because we see that some of these issues were created as a result of constitutional amendments that were brought about.
Constitution is the basic legal system, right? So it is very important. It has to be very inclusive and making everyone to feel that we all are equal, and there is a system for justice, and everything has to be protected, human rights and all that. But the Constitution only will not solve the problem, and how many times this Constitution has been amended, and I feel the change of the attitude, that is what we need. Instead of introducing clauses like Buddhism is supreme, or the government's duty is to protect it, or instead of those things, can't we bring the teachings that is relevant to every one of us, that is equality and non-violence, and that there is a very beautiful teaching in Buddhism. Don't do anything that you don't like to experience. Instead of adding sentences that the government's supreme task is to protect Buddhism, there is nothing in Buddhism to protect, but it is to practice. Bring those values in the Constitution, and bring those values into the institutions and schools, and that is what I suggest.
නියම ක්වලිටියට හැදෙන අලුත් ටියාරා රස පදමට අලුත් වෙලා.
The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority says that investments in the tourism sector have surpassed 2019 levels, totaling $2.8 billion so far in initial approvals and $194 million in final approvals. Addressing the media today, SLTDA chairperson Kimali Fernando also announced that the new Tourism Act will include a new emergency fund that will look to cushion the impact on SME hotel operators in any future crisis.
Addressing the media today, Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority chairperson Kimali Fernando unveiled plans to include measures in the new Tourism Act that would cushion SME hotel operators from any future crises through an emergency fund.
අපි අලුත් ඇක්ට් එකක් ටූරිසම් කරන්න යනවා නිසා ඒකට අපි දාන්න යනවා 105ක් මේක වෙනුවෙන්.
ඒකට අනාගතේ
ඉන්නට උදව් කරන්න මේ වගේ ක්‍රයිසිස් එකක් ඉමර්ජන්සි ෆන්ඩ් එකක්. මොකද 5000කින් 15000කින් 20000කින් ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දක් ඉන්න පුළුවන්, අවුරුදු එකමාරක් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. බෑනේ. අනිත් එක පුළුවන් තරම් අපි කරන්න යන්නේ හෝම් ස්ටේ කරන එක්කෙනා ඩොලර් 2ක් හරි 5ක් හරි charge කරනවා නම් අපි කොහොම හරි කරන්නේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් අත්දැකීම එක වැඩි කරලා ඒ ඩොලර් 5 හරි 2 හරි 5 10 කරගන්න. ඩොලර් 20 කරන එකේනා 30 කරන්න. එහෙම 5 star hotel එක ඩොලර් 70ක් 80ක් කරන එකේනා 150 200.
In the meantime, SLTDA Director General Dhammika Vijay Singha spoke on the subject of investments in the sector, revealing that a massive $2.8 billion in investments have been given initial approvals this year.
පසුගිය වසර ඇතුළත විතරක් අපි සැලකුවොත් අපි ආයෝජන රැසක් අපි අනුමැතියෙන් ලබා දුන්නා. අවසාන අනුමැතිය ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ඇමරිකානු ඩොලර් මිලියන 194ක් වටිනා ආයෝජනවලට. ඒ වගේම මූලික අනුමැතියෙන් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ඉඩම් ලීස් අවුට් කරන්න ඒවට අවශ්‍ය මූලික අනුමැතිය ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ඇමරිකානු ඩොලර් බිලියන 2.8ක් වටිනා ව්‍යාපෘතිවල. එතකොට මේ කටයුතු දැනට අර බොහෝ වෙලාවට පහුගිය අවුරුදු දෙක තුල ඒ ආයෝජකයන්ට ලංකාවට පැමිණෙන්න
SLTDA chairperson Fernando explained that the spike can be attributed to the authorities' efforts to provide a one-stop shop solution for potential investors by cutting a path through the old cumbersome red tape system.
All the last 20-30 years, investments were done when someone wants to do an investment. What happens is they had to go to between 20 to 34 government institutions to get approvals. So what we did was, together with the assistance of USAID, and I'm grateful to them, we put all the applications together into one. Now what happens is that when you apply, you go onto our website, you apply once, and you don't have to go to different UDA or environment or whatever, you don't have to go. It is in one application. And we, Sri Lanka Tourism, actually coordinates with the investor. So what we really do is that we get all the investor often in the last 2 years has been on Zoom, and the architect sometimes was also on Zoom, but they had local architects and project managers. So we got them physically and on Zoom. And we got all the line agencies seated in one room, and we went through the projects. And that is actually the reason that we are very proud to say that investments increased in 2020-21 over 2019 when there was no COVID. So we passed 2019 figure in 2020 and 21.
The Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, met with Central Bank Governor Ajit Nimal Cabral today to announce the provision of a $900 million financial care package to Sri Lanka. The package consists of a $500 million deferment in payments to the Asian Clearing Union and a $400 million SARC swap by the Reserve Bank of India. This comes in the wake of recent pledges by the Chinese government to help Sri Lanka out of its economic situation, following the visit of its Foreign Minister Wang Yi last week.
The Indian High Commissioner announced on social media today that the Indian government has green-lighted the provision of $900 million in deferred payments and a swap. This consists of a $500 million delay in cross-border settlements and a $400 million SARC swap. The announcement was made by Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, when he met Central Bank Governor Ajit Nimal Cabral at the Central Bank today. The $500 million payment deferment comes for payments due to the Asian Clearing Union, which is a net settlement arrangement set up in 1974 between India, Sri Lanka, a few other SAARC countries, and Myanmar and Iran. Also taken to social media, Governor Cabral announced excellent discussions with the Indian High Commissioner on the SARC swap by the Reserve Bank of India and other forms of bilateral cooperation. The announcement comes in the wake of Sri Lanka's latest downgrade by Standard & Poor's to a CCC rating of its long-term sovereign rating.
Now, Teshara Jayasinghe's future as the LITRO chairman is uncertain, with there being conflicting reports. Those sources confirmed to AdaDerana earlier that steps are taken to remove him. However, reports emerged that the decision has been revoked. Now, the developments come as President Gotabaya Rajapaksa inspected the LITRO gas terminal located in Kerawalapitiya today. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today engaged in an inspection tour at the LITRO Gas Lanka Limited terminal in Kerawalapitiya. He was joined by Minister of Trade Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, State Minister of Samurdhi, Household Economy, Microfinance, Self-Employment and Business Development Shehan Semasinghe, Chief Advisor to the President Lalit Weeratunga and Treasury Secretary S.R. Atigala. According to the President's Media Division, the total process from unloading LPG to the terminal to the delivery of the final product to consumers was inspected by the Head of State, with a 2,000 metric ton capacity each, giving a total storage capacity of 8,000 metric tons. However, the company supplies 30,000 metric tons of LPG monthly, which requires 7 shipments per month. Kerawalapitiya terminal is responsible for filling LPG into cylinders as well as the supply of LPG for industries. According to the company, distribution of gas to consumers is conducted via 42 representatives and 12,000 authorized dealers island-wide. Speaking further, Chairman of LITRO Gas, Teshara Jayasinghe, has told the President that an entity will be established to handle the operations of the LITRO terminal in Hambantota and to test LPG there this year. In the meantime, sources confirmed to AdaDerana that steps were taken to remove Teshara Jayasinghe from his position as the LITRO chairman. Sources also confirmed that Administrative Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Renuka Pereira, is tipped to become the new chairman of the company. However, some media reports say that Teshara Jayasinghe's ousting as the LITRO chairman was halted by the President. Now, following months of investigations, the Tamil Nadu Crime Branch has uncovered links between an LTTE intelligence wing operative Sabesan and Sri Lanka heroin kingpin Angodaloka, who died in exile in India last year. Investigations have revealed that Sabesan had been a key figure in Angodaloka's drugs and weapons smuggling ring and had funneled profits through the illegal Hawala remittance system.
The Tamil Nadu Crime Branch Criminal Investigation Department has uncovered links between LTTE intelligence wing operative Satkunam alias Sabesan and Sri Lankan underworld kingpin Angodaloka. Sabesan was arrested by Indian authorities last October on charges of drugs and weapons smuggling. 2 others, one other Sri Lankan identified as Chinna Suresh and a Chennai native named Soundararajan, were also arrested along with him. According to investigators, Sabesan and Chinna Suresh had fled Sri Lanka after involvement in major crimes and to escape from a rival gang. Their arrest came after the Indian Coast Guard intercepted 3 fishing vessels carrying 5 AK-47 assault rifles, 1,000 live rounds and 300 kilograms of heroin that saw 6 Sri Lankan crewmen arrested as well. Investigations later revealed that Angodaloka and his accomplice Ladia had been heading a major drug smuggling operation while in hiding in Tamil Nadu and also used their network to smuggle weapons from Pakistan, with profits being funneled through the illegal Hawala system to Angodaloka.
Sri Lanka Railways Station Masters Union has launched a 24-hour token strike effective from last midnight. Chairman of the union, Sumedha Somaratna, said that the trade union action is based on several issues, including the unannounced cancellation of long-distance trains without prior notice. He added that train journeys have been cancelled on multiple occasions a few hours before their scheduled departure time, even after seats were reserved. He accused the administration of doing it on purpose, adding that they suspect the General Manager of Railways is also aware of it. We will see you shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back to First at 9. Now, the World Bank projects the South Asian region's economy to grow by 7.6% this year. Though that's the case, it paints an entirely different picture for Sri Lanka. The World Bank forecasts the island's growth to be just 2.1% in 2022, with a marginal increase next year. According to the World Bank's latest report on global economic prospects, global economic growth is expected to decelerate markedly from 5.5% in 2021 to 4.1% in 2022 and 3.2% in 2023. This, it says, is due to the dissipation of pent-up demand as fiscal and monetary support unwinds across the world. The World Bank says that the rapid spread of the Omicron variant indicates that the pandemic will likely continue to disrupt economic activity in the near term. Notable deceleration in major economies, including the United States and China, will weigh on external demand in emerging and developing economies. What's more, the slowdown will coincide with a widening divergence in growth rates between advanced economies and emerging and developing economies. Growth in advanced economies is expected to decline from 5% in 2021 to 3.8% in 2022 and 2.3% in 2023, at a pace that, while moderating, will be sufficient to restore output and investment to their pre-pandemic trend in these economies. In emerging and developing economies, however, growth is expected to drop from 6.3% in 2021 to 4.6% in 2022 and 4.4% in 2023. As per World Bank projections, by 2023, all advanced economies will have achieved a full output recovery. However, output in emerging and developing economies will remain 4% below its pre-pandemic trend. As for many vulnerable economies, the setback is even larger, where output of fragile and conflict-affected economies will be 7.5% below its pre-pandemic trend, and output of small island states will be 8.5% below. When looking at the regional prospects, the economic growth in South Asia is projected to accelerate to 7.6% in 2022 before slowing to 6% in 2023. The World Bank says that growth prospects have improved since June 2021, largely because of better prospects in Bangladesh, India and Pakistan. It also says that monetary and fiscal policy are expected to remain broadly accommodative within the year in most economies, but gradually shift to a focus on fiscal sustainability and anchoring inflation expectation. Though growth prospects for South Asia is high, Sri Lanka's isn't. The World Bank expects the island's gross domestic product to be 3.3% for the year 2021. Further, it forecasts a decline in Sri Lanka's GDP growth to 2.1% this year, with a slight increase to 2.2% in 2023. At the Colombo Bourse, the all-share price index spiked today by 215.54 points to end at 13,338.49. While the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks closed at 4,554.94 after gaining 64.11 points. Market turnover for the day was 7 billion rupees. Now with that, here's Dimantha Mathi with a brief report on today's market performance.
After a bit of a shaky start to the week, today we are seeing a sizable movement in the index as the SPI spiked by around 215 points to close at 13,334 points. So basically overall we are seeing a positive sentiment today. The turnover also was onto the high side with 7.8 billion rupees of turnover, and we are seeing the retail favorite counters coming back into the limelight with the transportation sector and the capital goods sector. So that has made all the difference in the index and the sentiment in the market. So back into the upward momentum, and obviously the related retail favorite counters have topped the turnover with strong investor interest. So in addition to that, we are seeing interest in the life insurance segment. So with the life insurance companies likely to do really well in the uptrending interest environment, we are seeing a very strong interest into the life insurance segment and also their holding companies. The number of transactions were at the 56,000 mark.
The rupee, meanwhile, once again remained unchanged at 202.99 cents against the US dollar. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee fared against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.